Hello and a warm welcome to a brand new episode of South Central. This is India's one and only business bulletin that puts the spotlight on news, views and market activity from the 5 southern states. My name is Jude Sanad and these are the headlines we're tracking this hour. Actor turned politician and TVK chief Vijay appears before a CBI panel in New Delhi probing the Karpur Stampede in September that killed 41 individuals. The appearance comes just days after the CBFC blocked the release of the actor's film, Jananayagan. The Chennai-Bengaluru expressway could see completion delays as the Arakonam-Kanchipuram section sees a slowdown in the pace of construction work. Central Groundwater Board finds proof of significant groundwater contamination in Andhra Pradesh as 27% of samples collected exceed safety limits. Reports say Infosys is all set to incur a $150 million loss in annual revenue as German automaker Daimler hunts for an alternate vendor for its back-end IT sourcing. The search comes amid reported delays by Infosys in executing IT contracts. And what's in store for AI in India in the new year? We'll find out all that and more on our chat with the CEO of Kerala-based digital engineering firm Qburst. That's coming up next. Well, our top story first. It doesn't take an AI expert to tell you that New Year could bring with it exciting times for AI in India and across the world. From agentic AI disruption in enterprise software and transition of AI itself as it moves from chats to agents to the growing dominance of multi-agent systems and the change in user experience, 2026 could have it all. In fact, we saw much of this happen last year as AI agents dominated most workflows in the enterprise space and a number of customer engagement processes were automated by AI frameworks. So will 2026 now see the emergence of a much larger and a much more significant role that AI will now play in everyday life? And more importantly, will AI adoption pick up pace this year to soon become an intangible part of our lives and our work? To speak to us about what we can expect and some of the AI-driven innovations that could become a reality this year, we're now joined by Arun Ramachandran, CEO at Kerala-based digital engineering firm Qburst. Arun, firstly, thanks so much for joining us on the broadcast. My first question to you, as we enter 2026, AI is becoming increasingly embedded in business and daily life. So from your perspective, what are the top 3 AI trends this year that you are the most excited about? These are trends, of course, that will truly redefine business and customer experiences. What are they?
Jude, for having me on this episode. Very excited about 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. 2026 is bringing about a huge number of changes, especially in AI. I think one thing is very clear. Agentic AI disruption in enterprise software is real. 3 things which are really the key trends: moving from chats to agents, which means moving from creation to action. Second, multi-agent systems are going to become dominant as an architecture, as a fact of life. Third, one of the biggest changes will be in user experience. Things like retail, e-commerce, click and buy paradigm will move away. It will become obsolete. Agentic commerce will make sure that interfaces, goal-oriented interfaces, become the prominent aspect of the agentic world. So those are the 3 trends.
Well, thanks for breaking down some of those insights for us, Arun. But I have to ask you, towards the end of 2025, companies like TCS and Freshworks started reporting AI-driven revenue as part of their regular earnings, signaling a shift from experimentation to monetization. How do you now see the contribution of AI to overall business revenue evolving across industries in 2026?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question, right? We've been in the industry for more than 2 decades, multiple tech cycles. This cycle is different in terms of its speed and the speed of monetization as well, right? We are seeing a shift in how AI is contributing to business revenues. Initially, it was through cost savings. Now it is becoming more of a revenue driver, what we would call as a growth driver. We calling the AI impact into three different categories: growth, productivity, and transformation. Acronym is GPT. So productivity is where we have seen a lot of changes, cost saving, efficiencies, but growth, which is revenue, customer retention, those kind of things are becoming critical and they are contributing to business revenues. I think the biggest transformation is still to come, the T part, which will be changes in business models, which will lead to a quantum increase in the way businesses are profitable and they grow, right? So we are moving, and Qbers itself is obviously building AI-driven products and accelerators, which will help drive new revenue streams. For us, AI revenue doesn't need to be called out separately because it's part and parcel of all our service lines, right? So whatever we do, whether it is design, engineering, testing, operations, they all have AI-driven services and accelerators and tools. And essentially, we are solving client business problems through those and through applied AI.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it, the GPT in terms of AI and its pickup for the new year. Moving on to adoption itself now, Arun. AI adoption picked up strongly in India in 2025, yet highly regulated sectors like banking and BFSI continue to remain cautious, waiting for regulatory clarity before going about adopting AI itself. Do you expect this hesitation to ease in 2026? And if yes, what do you think could accelerate adoption in these sectors?
It certainly will. See, AI regulation is changing differently in different countries. Uh, US is relaxing its standards. EU is holding pat. China is going through a different model. The Middle East is adopting some, very sensible actually AI models, and India too, right? So a lot obviously depends on the regulatory framework, which have changed a little bit, but the axis which define a regulatory framework remain: one, execution, which is speed versus accuracy, and I would add things like safety and fairness, right? So these are the two axes which AI regulatory frameworks try to define. I think that situation is becoming clearer in India as well. Uh, the reason why certain sectors have held back is one because of the regulatory aspect, but related to it is the aspect of data provenance, right? How clear and reliable is the data, the content, and whether it can be now leveraged and monetized, especially in regulated sectors, as you said, finance, healthcare, banking, of course, and so on, right? Uh, in India, I think the adoption of this in these sectors will also grow once you have domain-specific LLMs. We calling it DSLMs. I think that trend, right, making it more contextual to that industry, the terminology, the regulations will help accelerate the adoption in these. So we are already seeing some significant breakthroughs. I think that will increase.
Right, let's shift focus to QBurst itself for a bit. Now, the company has applied AI across sectors like retail, healthcare, hospitality, and real estate, to name a few. Now, if you had to just pick one sector with the highest growth potential for AI-driven revenue and impact this year, just one, not more than that, which one would it be and why?
No, so I think there are two ways of interpreting your question. That's why I mentioned that. One is retail is big for us in QBus, right? We are leaders in retail in certain areas like luxury commerce, e-commerce, and so on. We are seeing adoption of AI in retail in aspects like agentic commerce. I mentioned that as one of the trends in aspects like product information, supply chain, and so on. So we definitely see an impact of retail in retail, but healthcare is something which I would like to call out because it has a much broader applicability on human life, and it has a different impact, so to speak. So whether it is diagnostics, whether it is patient claims and insurance claims, whether it is managing visits, whether it is the ease of providers to deliver services, I think the impact on humanity from a healthcare perspective and the use of AI for healthcare is going to be of a far higher magnitude. So that's the reason I mentioned both these. We are close to these sectors, and I think the adoption in these two has the highest potential from a revenue and impact perspective.
Right, before we end, Arun, I have to ask you, most recently, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella urged us all to move beyond the slop versus sophistication debate that usually comes by way of any discussion on AI and focus on using AI as a cognitive amplifier in day-to-day work. How quickly do you think businesses will embrace this mindset, and what do you think will either enable or hinder this transition?
Satya Nadella is onto something here. I had actually presented or published a written paper 2 years ago when I was at Hexaware prior to this on a continuum for AI value and how AI can impact. And it had 4 segments to it. Automation was the first. Augmentation was the second. So moving from automation to augmentation. Third was amplification. So we called it out as we had called it the 4A model. Amplification was the third. And finally, it was autonomy, right? So when Satya Nadella says cognitive amplifier, it does fit into that spectrum. These are stages of AI impact and value. I believe that, as enterprises start using it, human beings start using it, they will see that AI will be able to amplify their capabilities, their skill sets through the right mix of context and acceleration. And as an enterprise, as QBurst, right, we are adopting some of this because we know that AI is changing how managed services is delivered, how engineering is done, how testing is done. We are calling that framework as managed agents, right? So it's going to really impact and help with the transition because people will get more comfortable as they see that it's amplifying and augmenting their capabilities.
Well, on that forward-looking note, Arun, thanks so much for joining us and breaking down some of those points. Great speaking to you, as always. Right, moving on to the world of politics now. Actor turned politician and the Tamilaga Vetri Karagam chief Vijay is in New Delhi today to appear before a CBI panel probing the deadly Karpur Stampede in September that killed 41 attendees at the actor's political rally. Now, the probe comes even as the case itself was transferred from local police authorities in Tamil Nadu to a special CBI team that was tasked towards investigating the mishap. It's been a rough few days for Vijay. His latest and last film, Jananayagan, first ran into trouble with the CBFC, only to then have its release shelved and later postponed. His appearance before the CBI panel today is also being seen as a possible pressure tactic just ahead of polls in Tamil Nadu, as the new kid in the political bloc is seen to be a vote splitter for both the DMK and the BJP AIA-DMK combine. My colleague Bhavtosh had this report.
He arrived here at around 11:15 and the questioning started immediately at around 11:30. He entered the CBI headquarters from the reception side, and there has been a massive security arrangement since his own party party members had said that they fear for his life, and Vijay is protected by Y-grade security cover provided by Central Paramilitary Forces. Now, he is being questioned, probably the senior most party member and also party chief. The question and the line of questioning revolves around the fact as to who gave the permission for the rally, why he got delayed by 7 hours, and did he inform anyone in the party and administration that he will be delayed? The state police as well as the district administration has said that because of this delay, the crowd in fact increased from 10,000 to 30,000, and that could be the reason why the stampede occurred. One important point that has been highlighted by the police is the fact that there were no water bottles provided, no kind of amenities provided to the large crowd that had gathered, and there were no fixed entry and exit point. That has happened primarily because of the fact that many have questioned whether there were any kind of entry and exit points. The party on its part had blamed the state administration. The state administration has blamed the party. And probably for this very reason, Vijay's questioning is very important. And been over 4 hours since has been questioned, it is likely that he might be summoned again tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then a new date will be given to him very soon.
Well, Vijay there answering questions from that CBI panel in New Delhi. Moving on to news from Andhra Pradesh now. Nearly 27% of groundwater samples surveyed by the Central Groundwater Board have found to be contaminated, in particular containing high levels of RSC or residual sodium carbonate. The water samples from Andhra Pradesh were found to be especially high in fluoride and were observed to be particularly contaminated, especially in areas with high electrical conductivity, which points to samples largely collected for observation near coastal areas. Now, the recent monsoons have marginally improved these levels, despite the fact that overall concerns surrounding the quality of groundwater in the state, as per that survey, continues to remain grim. Well, moving on to Tamil Nadu now, the state has rolled out India's first dedicated deep tech startup policy, signaling a decisive push beyond services-led tech into frontier innovation areas like AI, semiconductors, biotech, space tech, and clean energy, with the state in fact aiming to support 100 deep tech startups and mobilize 100 crore rupees over the next 5 years. Unveiled at the Imagine Tamil Nadu Summit, the policy focuses on bridging the lab-to-market gap through R&D grants linked to technology readiness levels, access to shared testing infrastructure, government as early adopter pilots, and stronger industry academia partnerships, positioning the state to turn its strong research and patent base into a commercially viable, globally competitive deep tech ecosystem. Well, staying with news from the south and some corporate news now, Infosys is now at risk of losing about $150 million in revenue per year, as reports say that German automaker Daimler, one of its top 3 clients under a $3.2 billion 8-year IT services deal, looks to switch part of its work to a new vendor. Now, the decision by Daimler has reportedly been taken after execution delays and billing disputes, with the uncertainty concentrated in its workplace solution segment, which Infosys, remember, supplies, the hardware of which it supplies to Daimler itself. This happened even as renewal talks between Infosys and Daimler had stalled, and this translated to a hit that equates to roughly 0.7% of Infosys' revenue. For context, the Daimler contract itself coughs out about $400 million in annual revenue, and if reports are to be believed, Infosys is all set to lose $150 million of it. In fact, my colleague Ishika joins us with more details.
Infosys risks losing up to $150 million in annual revenue from one of its key clients, Daimler. Now, Daimler is reviewing parts of its IT outsourcing contract with Infosys and is actually scouting for alternative vendors at the moment. Now, pressure is building up largely on the workspace solutions segment due to execution as well as billing delays. Now, the core services offered, such as cybersecurity as well as data centers, remain renewed, yes, but they are limiting full contract risk. Now, the at-risk revenue is 1%, less than 1% of Infosys' annual revenue, right? But Daimler is still the top client, and therefore this is a major news for Infosys. And it highlights tighter client scrutiny as well as competitive pressure in large IT contracts. So while financial impact is limited due to this, client concentration and execution concerns will matter for Infosys going ahead. Back to you.
Well, tough times then for Infosys given the magnitude of that contract. But quickly shifting focus now to news from the real estate space, the Prestige Group's joint venture arm, that's Canopy Living LLP, which is a partnership between Prestige Estates Projects Limited and Arihant Foundations and Housing Limited based in Chennai, of course, has agreed to acquire a 16.38-acre land parcel in Chennai's Padi neighborhood for approximately 561 crore rupees. The purchase, of course, will be made from Sundaram Clayton, marking a strategic expansion of Prestige's residential and mixed-use development pipeline in one of South India's key urban markets. In fact, the land that is located near established neighborhoods like Anna Nagar and Korattur will be developed into a large-scale real estate project as part of Prestige's broader plan to deepen its presence in Chennai's high-growth micro-markets and support future sales growth. Moving on to news from the infrastructure space now, the Chennai-Bengaluru Expressway, initially scheduled for completion in the middle of last year, might just be delayed further. The reason we're hearing is that the Arakonam-Kanchipuram stretch of the expressway is seeing execution delays by way of construction activity, which in turn is holding up the entire project. In fact, most other parts of the expressway are complete, barring this stretch, which has seen only an 83% completion. Reports now say the stretch could see its completion only by April, by which time the entire project should be ready for use. The project, remember, is of special significance to Chennai and Bengaluru as it cuts down travel time between both cities by a good 2 hours. And before we end, our budget yatra has rolled into Bengaluru, where the big question isn't so much about numbers, but how the industry here is striving to create future-ready talent, strengthen businesses, and focus on affordable housing. And all in a city like this one that's growing at a rapid pace. As part of a Budget Yatra series, my colleague Mansi Dave does a deep dive into the industry in Bengaluru to find out what multiple sectors are looking forward to from Budget 2026. Take a look.
The speed at which the technology is changing across the globe. So if we want to be competitive as in Bharat on the way to the Vikasit Bharat by 2047, then time is essence, because we are left with only 20 years to compete with the most advanced countries.
Right.
So in this regard, I have only 2 points to say. Number one, that the speed, the hunger at which the higher education institution, faculty members, and the scientific community wants to innovate, and from there to the product, and that coordination should happen with the finance departments of those funding agencies. Because funding agency people are very good, but the coordination between these two then will reduce the funding flow to these kind of deep tech innovations and also the deep science innovations to the product. So this will lead to the country to a different level, because the country will keep the intellectual property right inside the country, and that will lead to the product which will bring in better revenues, which will be fit to the more and more research. So this coordination for the speed of time is very, very essential for this budget.
Absolutely. Well explained, Professor Das. Talking about the education sector and the development of the education sector, in the past few years, we have seen the importance of digitalization and technology, and then came the AI, the artificial intelligence. Do you think the current system is investing properly, heavily, as compared to the global peers in artificial intelligence and advanced research, particularly in your sector?
Very good question, because the next wave of the whole world is towards artificial intelligence. It will impact all the areas, starting from A for agriculture to B for biotechnology, C for computer science. You can go up to the Z for all these areas where AI will be there. But this AI needs two directions. One, education, that our younger generations has to be trained by the concepts and the fundamentals of the AI. And second, use the AI concepts for the applied towards these areas.
Correct.
So our education part is taken care by the higher education system. Even though its number is small, because the faculty members' numbers are small who are expert really in conceptual in AI, but the product side, we need more funding. Because it needs larger infrastructures and much more number of younger generation has to come and do the research in these AI areas. For an example, agentic AI, AI security, and multiple areas of the AI computations and algorithms. So this needs funding and also the infrastructure to carry on. And for this, government has to quickly give attention for these higher education institutions, professors, and also research community to move fast and come out with the models.
Mr. Das, Professor Das, higher education system like IIIT Bangalore is investing in the future of India, and eventually you're educating the youth to become the future workforce. So while we talk about the same, how do you think can the system collate the both, the academics with the industry? How can we marry the both?
Excellent question, because this will be the pivotal for the growth. So three of them are very important institutions. One is academia, second is government, third is industry. All three of them has to work for the betterment of the country and the citizen.
Correct.
So now let me go step by step. Industry has every quarterly, they have to show their results. So their time clock is quarterly. Academia is a semester-wise, 6 months. This is a quarter, this is a 6 months. So there is a mismatch of the clock, for which the government has to chip in here.
Correct.
So government has to, any new areas where industry doesn't see immediate return, so government has to, looking at the future and the demand of those areas, has to give the seed money to the academia to train the manpower.
Co-powered by